So this one I'm going to start off in truck mode as opposed to robot mode because there's something I want to address here. Now this toy gets a lot of hate and some of it is deserved. Like there are some things about the design of the toy that are like, why? And then there are some aspects where you look at it and you go, why? But then you realize how much it costs the market it's trying to target and how it was made. And then you can go, oh, I understand why that is the way it is. And most of those happen in truck mode. So I wanted to get into why that is before I get into what I think about the toy. And to start that off with, the best way to do it is in truck mode. So I'm starting with the vehicle. The cat ears are the biggest issue people have with this toy. I can understand why they're there, but yes, I don't like them there just as much as the next person, but I know why they're there. And the more I know about that, the more I'm okay with them being there. I've grown used to them and they're just part of the truck. Plus, apparently I've been told there are trucks that exist that look like that. Maybe not the one from the film, but there are trucks out there that have these cat ears. So there's also that if you want to look at it that way as sort of like a quote unquote accuracy standpoint to realistic trucks. That's how you want to justify it, that does exist. Also, I may go off script here and a little rambly, so just warning you. MPM-12 seems to want to drive home something I noticed with the MPM line lately, and I feel like this Prime might be an experiment to the point I'm about to make, but I think MPM is trying to move to a more affordable masterpiece market. Let me explain. So this guy costs around 179 Canadian dollars, which translates to 140 US dollars. So I'm going to use the US dollar price point for the remainder of this video. Oh, also, this is completely a theory, but as someone who studied business, manufacturing, and majored in marketing, I can use the things that I've learned to analyze this toy and come up with these quote unquote theories. So this is how I go into it. But yeah, this costs 140 US dollars when converted from Canadian currency. The MP44 Nemesis Prime, who doesn't come with a trailer and the shit like normal MP44, so it's basically the same as this, but G1 masterpiece, is 289 US dollars. That's a $120 price difference. MP44 Nemesis is targeting the Japanese market, and it's mainly targeting the Japanese market only, because that's the only language that the box comes in. That's the main market it sells to first before it comes to North American stores like Big Bad Toy Store, TF Source, all those places like that. People in Japan get the figures first because it's the market it's going for. MPM is made to target both that normal Japanese market that Masterpiece is meant for and the North American market. And when I say North American market, I also mean the UK, Australia, all that. So everybody that isn't Japan, but for the sake of making it easier on myself, I'm going to call it the North American market. These target the North American market. So there are some things that have to be cut and compromised to make a decent and eye-catching price to make you want to buy something. Pretty much what I'm trying to say is the North American market is cheap. Everyone wants to save money, obviously, but we as North Americans want to be as cheap as we possibly can when going in to buy something. Like I do too. I go in looking for sales a lot of times. Like that's when I get my toys a lot, is I buy them when they're on sale. But this guy is trying to be someone you go to a store, you look at, and you say, oh, that's actually not a bad price for a Masterpiece Optimus Prime. I'll buy it. And you buy it on the spot. That's why some of the compromises had to be made to keep that price point. Also, safety laws, distribution costs, import charges. I could go on, but that would also increase the length of this video, and I don't want to get into that because I don't want to make it too terribly long, even though this is going to be longer than normal. But that's basically the reason for the ears, the blocky arms. Is it great? No. But I at least want you all to see the reasoning or the potential reasoning behind a lot of the decisions made at the business level to make these products more available to the average consumer. Like, you can walk into Toys R Us if you live in Canada and see this on the shelf like I did for $179 or $140 US and look at it and go, damn, that's a really good price for an Optimus that turns into a flat-nosed truck, doesn't have hardly any kibble in either modes, and looks good and feels great. For $179, $140 USD, that's great. That is an amazing price. Yeah, you got to put up with a couple of compromises that are a little annoying, I will say. But I'm happy to give into those compromises if it means more money saved for me. That's how I look at this toy. And with all that out of the way, I like it. Yeah, the ears are weird, and that's the only thing to me that really, really bothers me about this figure if I had to pick something. But at least it's super clean in robot mode, unlike MP44, for example. It's also, the transformation is very pleasant, unlike MP44, for example, who cost $289 for just a normal one. But I do like the rest of it. The back of the truck bed isn't clean, but hey, MP44's isn't clean. He has die-cast canisters on the sides as well, which is nice, and no dumb opening doors. I mean, I like the truck a lot. It looks really neat. It fits with the MPM style quite well, like the modern ones. And I don't have Bumblebee Movie Prime to put next to this. I do have the Transform Elements one, which broke on me. I'm seeing a little pattern with Transform Element and me. So if I can find it in one piece, I'll put it next to the figure, and if I can't, obviously you'll see something else. But he does look good next to the other MPM figures, even though he's not from the same continuity as them. Transformation is very clever. I do like how simple yet complex it feels. He has some G1 Prime elements, but at the same time feels unique enough to still stay interesting. Like the arms transform very similarly to normal Optimus. It's very traditional arms come out of the side of the truck. But they change it up and mix it up. It's different from the Studio series, and it's different from Earthrise and Siege, so that's really, really nice. I like how they did that. It feels a hell of a lot more solid than MPM-4, which is the Revenge of the Fallen, not Revenge of the Fallen, which is the first movie Optimus and Masterpiece movie toy. The transformation is honestly pretty clean, and it's very fun to do. There is no real clunkiness other than maybe the arms exiting the truck might be a little bit finicky because there's like a tab in the way. Otherwise, the legs are super clean and fun to convert. They're also very clever in the way that they transform. They're very simple once you understand how everything works. But on that initial couple of times transforming it, it's super like clever, and then it just becomes a lot more satisfying in the end. I really like the way the legs work. I feel like the engineer who designed this did a very good job on the back end of this truck. Robot mode to me looks really, really good for what it is. Again, keep in mind, this is tackling the mid-range market. Not what pieces like MP44 and Freedom Leader are trying to get to, but Freedom Leader like blows up in your hands or whatever, so we don't talk about him. But I also like to look at this in respect with, in like comparison, with the smartphone market. I'm a huge smartphone nerd, and I plan on buying the Pixel 6 Pro when it comes out, upgrading from my Pixel 4. But it's a Pro, it's expensive, right? It's like the iPhone 13 Pro Max Plus Pro, whatever the fuck they're calling it now. I don't know, I don't follow Apple. But they make expensive ass phones, both these companies, and then they also make mid-range and budget phones. So I look at it this way: Studio series, Bumblebee Movie Prime is like the budget version, like your Pixel 3a or 4a or your iPhone SE. Then you've got your mid-range, your like $400 to $500 smartphones. This feels like a mid-range to MP44's flagship. If you know smartphones or like devices or anything like that, you'll understand what I'm talking about, the analogy I'm trying to make. But that's what this feels like. MP44 feels like the flagship iPhone 13, Pixel 6 Pro, Samsung Galaxy S21. What are they on now? I don't know. But that's what MP44 feels like. It's great, but it's expensive. MPM-12 here feels like you're getting the Pixel 5a 5G. It's great. It does the job. It looks good. It feels good. There's a couple of compromises to keep the price down. That's how I get, that's the vibe I get from this toy. I could be completely wrong, but that's the vibe I get from this, and that's how I look at it, and that's why I'm able to like it and appreciate it a lot more. Yes, the arms seem a bit blocky, and yes, the hands do look a bit odd. Those are my only major robot mode complaints on the aesthetic of it. I know there are upgrade kits coming out. I'm debating the Dr. Wu one over the DNA one because I don't like the leg extenders because the truck mode's already long enough as it is. It doesn't need to be even longer. I really like the way the legs turn out on this guy. I am fine with the way they look, and the transformation, like I said, seems extremely fun and they end up looking super clean. The lower arms are a bit big, yes, and due to the way they transform, they could have maybe compressed things a little bit. That's like one of my criticisms with this thing, is they probably could have compressed it a bit and maybe upped the price by $5, adding a couple of hinges. But I don't mind the bottoms of the arms having the windows. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. I don't look at that side of the toy very often, so it doesn't bug me. The upper torso parts look super nice and really clean. The chest does open to reveal a matrix. Now, I know there are going to be some people who say, oh, he didn't come with a matrix in the film. Yeah, well, every Prime has a matrix at some point, and especially at this price, you would want it to come with a matrix. The back of this figure, too, is so clean. Look, MP44, this is how you do a clean back. I know the electronics are stored in the box. It's just fun to make fun of the toy. There is no kibble hanging off the back of this guy, and it's super nice to see. And the neck and head detail is really, really cool. The ear horns are a slightly different blue, and I know some people have complained about that, but just in the pictures. Once you have it in hand, it's not as bad, and there's a reason for that. Because the ear antenna, head thingies, whatever you want to call them, are made out of a stronger material. They're a different plastic, so the blue reacts differently to the different type of plastic, making a slightly different, more lighter shade. But again, it's made out of, I'd rather it be made out of a strong plastic that's going to last than it looking perfect. Because I want this to last. I want it to last as long as it's going to. Because I like this figure. I want it to stay in one piece. He does have some dry brushing in places like the thighs and the neckline area. And it's not terrible. Like, it looks good. I'm not going to lie. It looks pretty good. You can kind of see brush strokes on my copy on the thighs. But on some pictures I've seen, it actually looks really cool. So I'm glad they were able to do that in here and put it in places where you're not going to see it a lot. He can hold his gun, which is a really nice update to the Ion Blaster, and he looks good holding it. It's a huge ass gun. It's really big. It can store in vehicle mode, but it can kind of store on the back. The way that the back's designed, you kind of have trouble pegging it in, which is kind of annoying, but oh well. I don't store the gun on the back anyways. He holds it in his hand. Posing is pretty good for an MPM figure because every single joint is solid on my copy. Nothing's loose. Nothing feels like it's gonna break. Everything feels super solid and super cohesive. Posing is pretty good for an MPM figure, and because he has a solid transformation, none of the little detaily bits want to come out. MPM Ironhide. I do wish the fingers could spread. Like, the way that they're bent is really weird. It's so he can hold the matrix, but it still just looks weird. Otherwise, I like posing this dude. I also like the inclusion of the back skirting armor. You don't see that a lot on toys, especially at this price. You would think more would have it, but they just don't. Like, he can move his legs back because the back skirting moves up. Marvel Legends figures don't even have that sometimes. They don't have the clearance and they don't have this thing sculpted in. Gundam doesn't even have that sometimes. You buy a master grade and the butt flap is just static. Like, I like how that's included here. Granted, if that wasn't included, I wouldn't have mind if they took that budget to like put those little hinges there, moved them to the ears to fold them down. I would have been okay with that. But again, like, I also do appreciate the fact that they gave him back skirting armor that folds up. I know this isn't for everyone, even with the explanation I gave earlier, the long explanation, sorry about that. But even with that explanation, the cat ears still do bug a lot of people. But there are upgrade kits coming out there for you guys, so there are options for you, ranging from simpler shoulder upgrades if you want to full-on arm replacement. The figure is not perfect. It is not perfect. There are issues, like I said. The ears, the truck bed is a little too long. If the wheels folded the other way and they like shorten the feet into that little gap, it would have looked a little bit more accurate to the actual truck. It wasn't this long in the film, but it's fine. The gun storage in robot mode, the ears being a slightly different color on the head, the clearance, the ground clearance isn't exactly the greatest. Like, there are issues with this guy. There's never going to be a toy without issue. Like, I really like Kingdom Rhinox. His transformation sucks though. Like, there's problems with that. Sweep is great. It's just the paint on the bottom can scratch the table when you put him down. Not perfect. Wreck-Gar has bent plastic and a loose waist. Not perfect, but I still like them. And the same thing goes with this toy. It is extremely solid. And for the price I paid for it, because it actually is cheaper in Canada, surprisingly, I say it's a really good pickup. I definitely recommend this figure. Like, 100%, definitely recommend it. But again, if you don't like it and it's not for you, then by all means, skip it. There's the Toy World Freedom Leader. If you really, really want it, I would stay away from it because it breaks. There's the Wei Zhang one, but Wei Zhang got shut down, so finding it's going to be hard, plus it looks weird. Then apparently there's a Transcraft one coming out because Transcraft is now Unique Toys or something. I don't know the whole story there. Dr. Lockdown explained it to me a little bit in the comment section, but like, Yeah, they teased an MPM style Optimus like this a while back. So there might be that to look forward to. But for as of right now, this thing's really nice for what it is, and I recommend picking it up. But that's been my look at MPM-12 Optimus. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.